And Obama persists in calling them extremists, as if they are extremists. For what reason? They're just very upset about a lot of stuff. He will not call it by its name, Islamic radicalism. He will not explain or concede that it's a worldwide movement.
Well, that was Charles Krauthammer questioning some of the language coming from the Obama administration as of late, as the president talks about a terror group that vows allegiance to a radical form of Islam and kills some of its victims in the name of Sharia law. The president seems very focused on how he defines this group. Listen.
What we know is that there are extremists who have moved into the vacuum. Iraq needs additional support to break the momentum of extremist groups. Extremists like ISIL. Extremists threaten our citizens abroad. It also means that states in the region stop being ambivalent about these extremist groups.
Joining me now, human rights attorney and director of the Lawfare Project, Brooke Goldstein. Extremists. Why doesn't that get it done?
You know, I agree with Charles in the sense that the language that the Obama administration is using to describe the very real and imminent threat posed by groups like ISIS is naive at best, and it's deceptive at its very worst. The administration continues consistently to deny the three basic elements of Islamist terrorism. Number one, that it's theologically motivated.
The Islamist part.
Exactly, that it is a global threat. We are engaged in a global war. And the third element is that they're engaged in acts of terrorism. These are not extremist groups. These are groups that believe the Quran commands them because they have a very literal interpretation of the Quran to engage in acts of violence to establish a global, worldwide caliphate.
The administration has spoken in part in the past about its language choices, saying they don't want to use the war on terror phrase. They think it's inflammatory. They feel that it inflates Al-Qaeda's own view of itself to talk about them as engaged in this global war. And with respect to the Islamist piece of it, the president himself came out and suggested the language matters. We can have legitimate disagreements but still be respectful, and said to the broader Muslim world, we want to offer the hand of friendship. He doesn't want to sound like he's alienating an entire religion. You
know, it's a wonderful theory, but there's absolutely no proof that denying Islamist terrorism exists results in a reduction of Islamist terrorism at home, homegrown radicalization, or abroad. You know, it's not us that brought Islam into the narrative. It's those that kill in the name of Islam who are the ones who are self-described Islamist terrorists. And the President of the United States, it's not his job to engage in a theological debate. What is Islam? What isn't Islam? What is extreme? What is not extreme? It is his job to articulate the threat, to identify it, to speak to the American public honestly, and to do something to keep us safe. And instead, we are engaged in these semantic debates with absolutely no strategy whatsoever.
Do you think it speaks to his worldview that, you know, we played the soundbite the other night about him believing as soon as he was inaugurated that it was going to improve our safety and it was going to calm the situation in the Muslim world? Then he took office saying, I was elected to end wars, not start them. He's been very reticent, and many people believe rightfully so, to go into Syria, to go back into Iraq, to take ISIS, hold of this group and really have an offensive strategy against them. Does it all speak to the same worldview?
Well, you know, the Obama administration has actually engaged in a very calculated strategy to neuter the ability of our counterterrorism community and law enforcement to defeat Islamist terrorism. They have struck the words Islam and jihad from all counterterrorism training manuals. Any manual that ties Al-Qaeda to the first World Trade Center bombings has been purged. They have fired FBI officials like Lieutenant Colonel Dooley, and they have blacklisted Pentagon officials like Stephen Coughlin because they're deemed Islamophobic. And the people who are advising the FBI on what to do with the counter-terror training manuals are people like Imam Mohammed Maghid, who's appointed by the Obama administration to the Department of Homeland Security as an advisor, and he heads the Islamic Society of North America, which is a Muslim Brotherhood front group. So this is the type of person that is advising our administration on how not to defeat the threat of Islamist terrorism.
Brooke, thank you.
Thank you.